Hello and welcome to another VOD review. We had a fresh weekend. I'm sorry I skipped a day, but we're here now to break it down. I know it's funny because everyone just wants me to review this match because all the Outlaws and Shock fans are like, I need to know. Tell me where it all went wrong. Tell me what happened. Why are San Francisco Shock the worst team in the Overwatch League as their Shock fans yell and outcry? Well, Houston Outlaws fans are finally rejoicing that their team does not indeed suck. So, awesome to see. One of the things that I have liked the most about the Houston Outlaws is they are staying consistent with their roster. If you've watched one of my previous Houston Outlaws VOD reviews, I was very critical of the amount of swapping they did with their players. We were seeing Dreamer come in for Django a bunch of times. We were seeing Jake come in to play for Juby a bunch of times. That sort of ruined a bit of their flexibility. And I also think they moved away from a lot of the praises that we gave them earlier on in the season when they were just so well coordinated with their communication, how they were working, how their teamwork was showing. They were disengaging so well. They were re-engaging so well. They sort of lost that in the middle when they were switching in so many players. So this weekend, they just stayed with the core six. This is the six they played with. Danteh, Happy, Django, Piggy, Crimso, Juby. Hard and fast, that's what they played with, and they looked really good. They had a great weekend. I think they went 2-0 this weekend. I'm sure our resident Houston Outlaws fan, Liz, will tell me. They beat the San Francisco Shock, spoilers, 3-1 in this series. And then they beat someone else. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. Who was the other team that they beat? I don't think it was it was Vancouver Titans, actually. It was a pretty clean Vancouver Titans win. 3-0. Can't ask for better. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. San Francisco Shock, on the other hand, their woes continue. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about the Shock because not really much has changed. I think they're still struggling a little bit. A lot of uncharacteristic mistakes. We'll try and break it down as we watch this one here. Violet is still playing the main support. They're still doing the change where FD God comes in to play Lucio when they want to play Lucio, like 100%. But Violet will play the Lucio, the Mercy, the Brig. Still not 100% sold by it. As you said, Violet on main support isn't a throw, but it's also not great. Like, it would be great to see Violet bench from sometimes, which did happen. This weekend was the first time we saw Violet actually benched in the season. A couple of the maps he did not play I think they wanted to play Lucio Ana. They played FD God Twilight, which was progress, I guess. But there's still a lot of changing from Super Smurf and that kind of stuff. But that's just showing the flexibility of Shock. So let's start watching. Let's break it down and start really looking at what happened with both of these teams. Do you think Twilight is the Shock solution to losing Koth? I just think Twilight is just more well-rounded than Violet right now. With Violet not being able to play the Ana, I think Twilight is just better. I think Violet, the only thing that Violet plays way better than Twilight is Zenyatta. Right? But Zenyatta is just straight up not meta. So if I'm being realistic, I would rather just see Twilight played 100% of the time in this meta on the flex support role. I'd rather just see FD God Twilight, if I'm being straight up honest. But, you know, here we are. So, we'll see.
Round one. Capture the objective.
Do you think Houston still has a problem with control maps? I'm not 100% sure on that thing. So, great little play by Shock. And this is, I guess we should sort of talk about the meta as we get into this. God of Thunder, thank you for 3 months. We got a lot of Symmetra this weekend. It feels like Symmetra is the flavor of the Summer Showdown. Everyone's playing these brawl styles and moving around. Winston compositions don't seem to be getting... Well, actually, let me back up even further. West versus East. Okay, so the West is playing a lot of this Symmetra brawl. Symmetra seems to be the best because you can maneuver around everyone else. Okay, enables them to be able to have the drop on everyone and play their style. There is a little bit of double shield, you know, hard bunker with like the Brig Bap being played from time to time, and you play like Mercy Bap and stuff like that. It is being played from time to time, but for the most part in the West, the Symmetra strat is being played. Not as much Winston because you can get bunkered down on little bits in Gibraltar of Winston. On the East, though, they are playing a lot of Wrecking Ball. There's a couple of teams trying to play the Brawl. I think Seoul Dynasty, Philadelphia Fusion are trying to play a bunch of the Brawl. But they actually both got hard found out by the Shanghai Dragons, who had a dominant weekend playing the Wrecking Ball Sombra compositions and just not allowing the Brawl to ever get value. So it is going to be exciting as we go on, as we start going into the actual playoffs of the Summer Showdown. We're going to see these two styles clash. Is the Wrecking Ball going to, and Sombra style going to be able to beat the pace and maneuverability of the Symmetra Brawl? I honestly don't really know. Usually I would say the Wrecking Ball wouldn't work, but Shanghai looks so good at it. So I honestly think this is Shanghai's tournament to lose. I think they look by far the best, and I think they have a good grasp on the meta right now, but only time will really tell. So let's get into it. So the TP by the Shock doing a great job. And this is something that we saw time and time again. A lot of teams did try and play this this McCree. Who was it who went down playing the McCree Torb? I remember Johnny molded out of control. Me? Oh, it was Atlanta. That, like, in the final hours, a couple of these teams are trying to play the non-Symmetra Brawl, and they're playing, like, McCree Torb. And I think you have the issues that the Outlaws just had playing this McCree May, is that if the opposition team playing this Symmetra realizes this and reacts fast enough, gets a great TP, maneuvers around you, gets onto your backline, that is an easier win condition than I think the McCree Torb, and just hoping that you just murder everyone. Because obviously, I would say the McCree is more consistent damage, but I think the Symmetra can have some really high highs. So Outlaws get to the point and get the cap. That almost felt a little bit too easy. How did Crimson get up before Twilight? Generally, if you lose in the fight, your Baptiste is going to get ult faster because your team is taking more damage, you have more things to heal. If your team is winning the fights, you actually don't get ult charge very fast. So Window, good wall by Danteh, isolating Super here. Super does a pretty good job of staying alive. Not enough though, just gets absolutely murdered. Flux, May ult, I don't really know what's happening here. The Outlaws are winning though. And it is interesting how the Outlaws playing this comp, right? So Outlaws aren't playing that Brawl, they're playing that other side that I was saying. They're playing the double shield. So instead of trying to mirror the Brawl, they're just trying to out-sustain the Brawl, right? So just have enough health that when they run at you, you have enough sustainability with the Brig and the Baptiste to counter it. So Violet's actually going to switch and go to the Zen. I actually don't like this switch to the Zen if they're gonna stay with the Symmetra. If they went to like a McCree May, I could understand the Zen bap a little bit more, go more damage, but then all of a sudden you're playing a Reinhardt against double shield. Like the Zen, as much as I think Violet is gonna get more value on the Zen, I feel like the rest of his team is gonna get left out to dry, and it's gonna be hard for them to play the game because they don't have speed anymore. They're trying to play Brawl. Like what does Super do? He doesn't have speed anymore. Oh, big shatter by Super. Great play by Super, gets the value. I think Outlaws didn't do a very good job. Like, Outlaws are positioned over here. I think they needed to be more positioned over here so that when the Shock try to run the point, that they have a counter to that. They weren't in position. The Shock just forced the point, and then Outlaws had to put themselves out of position to try and contest it. Like you saw, Danteh steps up to the point, has to use block. They have to step up. As soon as their shields break, Super gets a free shatter. So kind of bad initial positioning by the Houston Outlaws, giving the Shock a win condition. Jiggy tank line. I'm going to steal that on the broadcast. I'm going to call them the Jiggy. I'm going to say they're getting jiggy with it. It's going to happen. And then I'm going to take all the credit and not credit my chat at all. And take it as my own. Because that's just the way it is. You guys can't stop me. You usually do that anyway. Yeah, I did it with the June tournament. I'll do it here. Wait, what? Happy? Can't lose those. You cannot lose those. He just lost a 1v1 against the Zen as a McCree. Did Nero just lose his mail? Oh, Nero loses his mail. I want to see how that happens. Oh, good play by Juby. Gets the bash onto the mail. I don't know about that Transcendence by Violet there. I don't think they can turn this fight. Now that's a lot of ults use as well. They're also switched to Tracer. So they're committing a lot, especially with that window. So hey, actually they get to come in the happy. It's a really good fight for Shock to win though, but it's a gamble. Oh, Rally's a problem. They can't give up the cap. The most important thing is that they don't give up the cap before they get a good reset. Because if they get to 85-90% before they really start resetting. Alright, so they do a good job. They don't stagger too hard. Is it an attempt to hold until 99? Yes, but now all of a sudden, Houston Outlaws had the point, and they have no ultimates. They use Window, they use Transcendence, they use Diva Bomb. Nero loses the mail. They don't have the ults to get into this fight, right? So let's see if the Houston Outlaws adjust their positioning that they did last time, right? Because what they want to end up with, I think they want to end up with Crimzo and Danteh in the high ground as the Shock try and maneuver around. Obviously, they don't have Symmetra TP, so this is going to be a lot harder. Alright, Glista makes it to the point. The Houston Outlaws engage early, though. Good blocks. Yeah, good play by the Houston Outlaws. Like, they know that they can give up tick. Like, they can give up the cap. They don't need it. As long as they win the team fight. They won it pretty cleanly, so it's going to be really hard for Shock to re-engage. Now they're going to have to stagger back onto this point. It should be a pretty easy win for the Outlaws. So, and that's sort of what I talk about, right? When we talk about great teamwork and strategy by the Houston Outlaws that we haven't really seen from them in the middle. Is like they just understand their win conditions. Great understanding of win conditions. Get the cap. I don't think Danteh is that good. I disagree with you. I think Danteh is excellent at everything that he plays. But hey, as I said, you can believe. Yeah, I'm not gonna berate you. All I can tell you is that you probably should respect Danteh. Alright, so we're gonna see the Shock go over to the double shield, and this is actually what Atlanta played as well. So this is a common theme, right? So I think maps which are too open, too hard to close the distance with a Symmetra TP, a lot of teams are moving towards this Torb McCree style and the BAP Brig. I don't really like this Brig here. I think this is a bad recognition by Juby. I don't mind it if they're gonna play the Lucio Ryan and you're gonna play the Brig, but if they're gonna play double shield, I think they like double shield Zen BAP. Like, I don't see how Brig gets any value in this composition. Like, what are you gonna do for this team? You're better off playing a Mercy or a Zenyatta. Oh, good catch. Oh, thank you. Yeah, let me change the title real quick. You guys can get some GB pop while I do this. So you can just see the raw damage that the San Francisco Shock have, right? With the Ashe, the Torb, the Zen, the BAP. They just have a much easier win condition. It is interesting that Super's playing the Ryan instead of the Orisa. I don't know if that's just Super playing his Ryan OTP life, or if he just doesn't, he actually thinks he can get more value from the Ryan. I think the Ryan gives you a lot more versatility in terms of where you take the fight. I also really dislike this switch by Happy, right? I don't think this switch is good because, especially, like, look at what they did. So, Danteh goes to the Mei, Juby goes to the Lucio. So now they're playing a double shield Widow, but they're playing a Lucio Mei. So, those two things are counterintuitive to each other. The Lucio Mei wants to get in their face, but the Widow, Orisa, and Sig don't really want to or have no way to get in. How are they going to close the distance and then get value once the distance is closed? And then how are they going to get that space to Happy to hit the shots? Happy just has to go sicko mode. And I feel like that's just bad by the Shock, bad recognition by the Shock. Like, obviously, Violet gets caught, and then Glista also takes the same angle where they know the Widow is. Like, they just need to not give the Widow space, and then have someone run him down, right? Like even now, you see, right? They just got a bunch of kills, right? Like, they got, how many kills did they get for that? So, Violet kills the Zen. And then the Outlaws have the entry, right? So Violet switches to Lucio. He puts a lot of pressure onto the BAP. He gets the Ash. But they just... Danteh gets the super, but they can't... It feels like they can't close out the fight, right? Can you imagine if Happy was on, like, a McCree or something like that, right? I feel like they'd get way more consistent value. So, unless Happy gets 2 great kills there, right? But even then, they still can't close out the fight because they don't have the damage with a Lucio BAP Mei Widow, right? They don't have the ability to close out the fight. So, even though it functions and they get a great entry, that's best case scenario and they still can't close out the fight. Just Greg, thank you for the fresh sub.
Heal me.
And now, yeah, like now the shock recognizes it. Violet finds his window, recognizes that they have no protection for the Widow as well, right? They have to just the Widow has to take the off angle. So it's like now you question, right? Why are they playing Lucio? Like what is the Lucio providing for this composition? If they don't want to engage with the Widow and the double shield, how are they? What are they accomplishing? So I think Custa and Outlaws sort of losing to themselves a little bit with this composition. They either needed to hard switch to a rush or they needed to hard switch to the double shield and play a slower style. I think the rush probably would have been better for the Outlaws, but because they sort of don't do either, they just straight up lose this round. So not a huge fan of those switches by the Shock. Do you have any reason to why they don't field Tayo? Can you give me a reason of why they would field Tayo? Like, what does Tayo offer better than any of these other players in Nero or Glista? Or Arms? If you can give me a reason why, then I'll take it. I would say he's probably the Genji player right now. Like, and that's his only role on the team. But even then, we don't know if he's going to play when it comes to Genji meta, so... Tayo need to be let go. Hey, as I said, Tayo, I'm sure it's great. Like, Tayo ended up being on a championship team. I'm sure he's learned a lot, and that's great for him. I think if he wants to be more successful moving forward, he's gonna need to join a different team, because I think he's playing under some of the greatest players that we have in the league, right? It's very hard to get your start. You really need to work your way from the bottom and make your way up. He joined the greatest team with great players, and as I said, I think he's a good player, and I think he can definitely play in this league from the little bits that I have seen from him, but I just don't think he's ever going to play on the San Francisco Shock. So we'll see what happens for him in the future. Did Outlaws play a single second of Ryan? I'm not actually sure. My brain says yes, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong about that.
The objective is now.
Okay. So it looks like the Houston Outlaws are losing this round. Okay, the first fight. So the Shock are playing once again. So I believe they did. Yeah, and I'm starting to think, is like, did they play Ryan? I would have said yes if you had asked me, but now I'm starting to doubt myself. Like, they're playing like the Symmetra double shield here, which is kind of interesting. I think my biggest problem with this Outlaws comp right here is that I think they lack damage. I don't think they have the damage to kill this San Francisco Shock lineup. So they really need to work on isolating people, because the Shock just have the opposite problem, right? Shock has no mobility, but have a stupid amount of damage. So the Shock can't really dictate the fights, but they're very strong. While I think the Outlaws, they're playing fast, but I don't think they have the... Like, without the Reinhardt and the Diva, I feel like they just don't play at a pace that Oh, Nero just gets fucking bopped. Okay. Well, that works. Maybe with the Orisa Sigma, that can provide enough damage, and if the Symmetra can get going, it's enough damage? I don't know. Alright, so this fight is just never really reset on us. So that's like the closest reset that you gotta kind of question what the Outlaws are doing here. I feel like they set themselves up for this failure right here. Like they're just stacked on these small stairs, not controlling the high ground at all, not stopping them get out of the door, and they just drop the bongo. Like they're just asking to get ulted here. Like that felt way too easy for the Shock to get that re-engage. The Flux Coom, the legendary combo. Golden Gaze, thank you very much for the prime sub. Welcome to the fam. So, they didn't really have many ults going for them, but I think they needed to play more aggressive in one direction rather than trying to just play aggressive on the stairs. So now they have to re-engage. They should be coming up on a lot of ultimates, though. They're going to get their Sim Wall. They're going to get this May ult. Oh, okay, so there's the Sim TP. Gets onto the Shock. Alright, Choi's dead. He was the unlucky one who was chosen. I think the Shock might have been too aggressive there. On the counterpoint, I think Shocker, their backline was too close. That enabled the teleporter here. Just maybe a little bit, like I understand that they don't want to give too much free space, but I don't know if they were ready for this. This is like this TP, look at how close they are to the backline. By doing this, like everyone's a little out of position, right? Violet isn't with his backline anymore. Choi gets isolated a little bit too easily without anyone. Because by everyone getting caught off guard, like it's fine if your Sigma and Orisa get caught off guard, but if their backline was further back, they would have been able to support fire and they potentially would have been able to get some kills, right? They would have been able to like drop a window, all those kind of things. So it is interesting that they got caught with their pants down a little bit there for the Shock. Oh wow, Twilight just murders Jangu. I know Smurf has got Winston. Is Super's that bad? No, Super's Winston is fine. We haven't seen it in a while, so I wouldn't be surprised if Super's Winston isn't that good anymore. I'm sure he could get it back up there if he really tried, but I don't know if he's put a lot of time into it. But Smurf's Winston is that good. It really is. And I think as much as it would be good for them to have consistency in the main tank role, this is what they've always done and it has always worked for them. So I don't feel as badly about them switching Super and Smurf as I do them switching like Violet and FD God, right? That is really where I have the issue. Would you prefer Super or Smurf as their only main tank? We haven't really seen a lot of either in their opposite role because they've always been switching back and forth. So I don't know what Smurf's Ryan is like. We saw it a little bit recently, but it didn't work. Alright, so the Shock just sort of walking out. But Lucio, I don't know how I feel about this Lucio. Like, I feel like they're just gonna get out-tempoed by this Symmetra right here. Like, I feel like this Symmetra is just gonna... I think if they're gonna play damage, they may as well play damage. So they switch Glister over to the Symmetra, so they end up being the ones that blink and they make the switch first. Because, like, it's so hard for them to sim TP. Like, they don't have the Mei. They don't have any ults. Alright, we got the Coom going down. Oh, Piggy getting isolated a little bit there. Great wall. The Shock get it. Alright, great switch. Works out for them at the last second. Oh, wow. Gee, wanted Super so bad. And I think that sort of goes, like, back to what I was saying in terms of that I think their comp lacks a lot of damage. I guess, like, the only difference that the Shock are playing is the Torb here, but that, like, I'm sure the Coom did a lot of damage there. With Mei Sim, I feel like if you're not playing a mirror, like, I feel like it's hard to ramp up the damage at times. If you don't get that damage ramp on the Symmetra, I feel like you lack a lot. Dude saying Kev's the Prophet and Sparkle are worse echoes than Danteh. Thoughts? I feel like Echo is very hard to predict. I don't think there is any evidence that you can say that points to that reasoning. I think, like, as much as they're all great Echo players. Like, you don't have to put one over the others, right? Like, I feel like too many people try and, like, justify, like, why one player is better than the other player, but at the end of the day, we just don't, like, it's a 6-player team game. It's really hard to control them because there's so many different elements that go into it, right? It's not like a 1v1. Alright, that's first map done though.
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
So we're gonna have the Outlaws play maybe they don't play Reinhardt. So we're gonna have the Shock. Shock definitely lean more into playing this brawl style with the Reinhardt, while Outlaws once again playing this Symmetra Mei thing. I actually don't mind the Symmetra Mei if you're gonna be playing the mirror of the brawl, right? And that's what the Outlaws are playing, and they're gonna play it slow. I still think I don't love the Brig. But I guess if he's not going to play Brig, what else is he going to play? I don't love the Lucio. But maybe he should just play the Lucio. Like, I just don't really know what you do as a Brig here. Nero gets isolated here, gets forced to use his block early. Quite interesting. Django goes a little aggressive there, I think, but they get Nero because of that early block. Super goes down. Good hold. Now they just need to make sure they don't lose anyone. They just don't want to make sure they don't lose anyone here, so they can keep the spawn camp going. Juby has 80% ult charge. Hey, fuck it. If Juby's going to get that much work done... oh, wait, actually, I flipped the teams. That was a great... If Juby's going to get that much work done on the Brig, then fuck it, all the power to him. Do you think Arns will get back into shape and start rolling again? I don't think we've really hit a hit scan meta yet. Like, even when we did see Arns play on, like, Volskaya and stuff like that, we're just not really in a hit scan meta. So, like, we haven't really had the opportunity to see Arns fuck, right? So, until we see that time, I don't see Arns really expect to play. He definitely struggled a little bit, but as I said, working against harder circumstances. How did Shock get 3 fights first point? This is a pretty common thing that people have been doing for a while. So you take the fight at the door, make sure the cart doesn't move. If you die correctly, what you'll do is you'll be able to stop them in this door. You can hold this door for as long as you want. And then if you really want to, you can get a third engage. It's all about making sure that the cart doesn't move past this point, right? As soon as they lose this cart, if the cart gets to here and the cart starts moving as they're taking this fight, they won't get a third fight. But it's about discipline of where you're taking these team fights. Nero kind of ints in that one. What was that by Nero? Like, they're in a pretty good spot here. They just want to hold. Yeah, I don't really know when Nero goes that aggressive. I think he thinks he has the block. Like, as much as they get 3 fights, none of these have really been good fights, right? Like, they're wasting a little bit of time, but they're not really getting anything out of it. That seemed like a weird play by the Shock. I don't know why they felt the need to walk out.
Hey, hello.
Do you think Arns will have the season he had last year? Yeah, but I think it's very hard to match up to the season that he had last year. And it's also like, it's going to take him time to get back into the flow, right? He's been playing Valorant for so long. So I will say this about the Brig. The rally is absolutely incredible to have. Like, having a rally in these team fights is like a team fight win just for that. So maybe that's what they like. As much as I think the Brig can be hard and you can get like some weak value, if the Shock are just going to TP into his face and he can stay alive time and time again, then fuck it. Super gets picked off every fight, yeah, but that's his job. That's Super's job is to fucking TP and go ham in the paint. Like, hard in the paint. He should be dying first. If he's not dying first, he's baiting the rest of his team. That's the strategy that Shock are having. He's gonna go in, like you see it time and time again. He TP's in, he starts swinging, he tries to go aggressive, he gets frozen, the lamp goes down, and he dies. I hate to be, that's kind of his job. If you're not doing that as Ryan, and your other teammates are dying before you, and that's just because you're holding the shield, then you're not playing the composition right. Super understands what his team's win condition is. Even if he dies first, he understands that's what he has to do. Great TP by the Houston Outlaws. Recognize, as soon as this wall goes down, they know they don't win this team fight, right? The wall's too good. TP to the high ground. Okay, you want to have the cart? You can have it for a little bit. We'll give you some time. Now they have the high ground. Look at the shit spot the shock are in. Bongo's good. TP to the high ground. The shock cannot lose this cart, right? Talking about losing the cart. The way the shock are trying to play is they're trying to take as many fights as they can. But if they lose this cart and the car starts moving, the Outlaws win this fight, the shock are going to lose. And Super recognizes this, right? And that's why he steps forward and he's going to get frozen. Great mail. Great mail by Danteh. Isolates everyone. But as I said, they're losing the cart. They can't let the cart move further forward than this. Alright, and there, you can see good discipline by then. It's being communicated well. They might get another fight here. It's gonna be sketchy though. Is Scrim's our top flex supporter? He's definitely making a name for himself to be one of the best flex supports. I think it's hard to say he's one of the best. Like, there's some great flex supports in the league. You know, Twilight, Violet, Izayaki, Alarm. But yeah, he's making a name for himself. So, and here's the problem with, I think, what the San Francisco Shock are doing. Oh, great punch. Punch catches Juby. Super gets Jangu. That punch by Glister is so important. If he doesn't get this punch, I don't know if they win this fight. But they get this big. And here's the issue with playing this style of take as many fights, get as many fights on all the teams, is you very rarely get good fights, right? Every fight you're usually fighting at a disadvantage and you're just sort of hoping something goes well, right? So Glister switches over to the Doomfist and that's where they get the value. Jivy should counterbatch that? Yeah, 100%, but you just didn't get it. Didn't see the Doomfist come from the high ground. Go vote. Thank you very much for 2 months. Congrats on the engagement. Don't forget to register to vote when you can. Hell yeah. Thank you very much. Quantity over quality, exactly, right? Violet kills Happy. I assume Violet wasn't all the damage. Let's have a look at this one. Oh, he actually did hit a bunch of shots, but that was unfortunate for the Houston Outlaws. Why no FD God? I think they want to play Bap Zen at times, so that's why they're putting in Violet. We don't really know. I don't think we've really been given the Ooh, don't like that. I guess it's gonna kill Piggy, so I guess it's worth, but that could have gone... It could have gone bad. I like the idea, I just don't think it was executed as perfectly, but Nero made it work because Nero's really fucking good at the game. Nero haters in chat. Don't forget that. Yeah, we haven't really heard the Violet reasoning of why Violet is being forced into the main support role so much. Oh, Glister gets punished. And that's the problem with the Glister Doomfist, is it's going to be really hard for them to find windows and openings, right? Outlaws do a good job of isolating him. Good beat. Great timing on that beat, but once again, they've lost the cart, right? They're going to need to close the distance here. They don't have the Sim TP. Oh, the flush. Oh, good rock by Choi Hyoban onto Piggy. Cancels that flux, but it should... Oh, I think he wants that one back. Even if they hadn't capped, I think they were going to be in trouble regardless. It's really interesting. Did Outlaws seriously not play a single bit of Rhyme? Did they play... Wait, I want to have a look at this. 1 second. I want to go to the stats. To the stats lab. I just want to confirm. I understand that, like, a lot of you guys are saying 2021 season, Summer Showdown qualifiers, team, Houston Outlaws. Oh, it hasn't been updated yet for this weekend, I don't think. Maybe... If I go to matches, are the matches up? Yeah, overdodge. Yeah, it's fine. I was hoping that I could check the stats really quickly, but I can't. That is interesting if they didn't play a lick of Ryan, because that is different. Because I feel like the Ryan, like even on control, like I can understand their composition. I actually really like their composition on these escort maps. But I think on control it gets a whole lot harder, right? And that sort of goes back to my point of like the Houston Outlaws, they lost control, right? So maybe they would benefit from playing a little bit more Ryan, but I guess it was very, very close, like determined by a team fight or so. But. Sim makes double shield much more watchable. I kind of disagree with that. Because I feel like as soon as sim walls start going down, like, I feel like it's more easy to see the engagements happening because they're sim TPing into each other. But I think sim is just chaotic. Like, it just ends up with, like, we have some fights where just, like, everybody TPs onto top of each other. There's walls everywhere. I can't tell whose wall is what. Then they have then they have turrets, and then they have mails going down. It's just a fucking nightmare. They played Ryan against Titans on the pole. Interesting, okay. I do like the Houston Outlaws rotations. It feels like they really understand what they're trying to do and accomplish. Great mail by Danteh. Dante's mayouts have honestly been really good. They seem to navigate, like, I don't think, like, Dante's gotten pretty good value from all of his mayouts, except for that one at the end of Busan, right? The TPs make it more interesting, but the walls make it worse. Yeah, the walls are really hard to follow. I'm not a huge fan of watching this meta, if I'm being honest. I feel like it's very just like... You know what I feel like the biggest issue with it is there's no exciting plays. There's cool teamwork and synergy plays, but I feel like there's nothing that gets my juices flowing, you know? There's nothing like, oh, that was like the sickest play ever. Like, I feel like that is what is missing from these compositions. It just feels like very macro-esque. Oh, so yeah, like Super just died. Like, it feels like Super's just trying to slow down this card time after time, but he's just taking too much damage. That's not as good of a mail, but I guess the wall. Dude, Django was getting bullied. Oh, that boot by Violet saved Piggy's life. Oh, Juby goes down. Oh, great mail by Danteh, because they're gonna have to stay on the point. They're gonna have to run into the mail. Danteh May is kind of clean. Kind of clean with it. Crimson carry here? Yeah, it was kind of free. And that's what the Shock are doing so well, is I feel like... And I think this is why you can make justification. Like, I think Super would benefit a lot from playing the Orisa. Actually, the more I watch this, even with the Lucio Bap, or the Brig Bap, is... The biggest issue Super's having is that he can't stay alive. He understands he needs to be the frontliner, but he's just getting isolated and frozen time and time again. And if he had a fortify, if he had a pull, if he had like all those like kind of things, I think he would get more value. So I think Super would actually benefit a lot from switching to the Orisa himself rather than playing this Reinhardt.
Ready for...
So the Houston Outlaws playing a different approach, not actually playing close up. They're actually going to play Happy Widow. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like they're playing against their win condition, but... How about Xayah Bubble? Nah, Xayah Bubble's not very good. The problem with Xayah and Xayah Bubbles is, it's like, okay, yeah, you bubble, you saved him for like 1 second. It's like, now he dies again. You get way more protection out of D.Va, out of Sigma. Xayah is more of a damage off tank more than a supporting off tank. And this is why you don't play Widow, is I feel like he's literally just playing hide and seek with Choi. He hasn't even attempted to shoot at anyone yet. Yeah, I don't really like this Widow pick, guys. Like it's kind of under the same guise as what I talked about on Busan, right? Where it was like, he has to kill like 2... So like, he actually pops off. That was kind of crazy. He got that much value out of the Widow. But even then, the Widow's just not a good pick. That felt like a really greedy pick by the Outlaws, hoping that they were going to get value from the Widow. Like, as soon as Troy just went D.Va and just ran down Happy, they just couldn't do anything in the frontline dives. But, yeah. Happy's sick. The Happy Widow is always sick, but it just might not be the play in this, on this fight. When Widow isn't even good on Junkertown, yeah, it's just the way the game is being played. With how many shields and how much mobility is being played around, like, it's kind of weird. So now they also have to switch late. So now they have to switch to the main Symmetra late. And even the Sigma late. It kind of... This might ult fuck them for the rest of this match. Or at least the way that they're playing. So they're going to play the Lucio Moira style. Like, this can't happen, right? How does this happen? How does Super just, like... You sort of say, like Super has died first. A lot. Like, don't get me wrong. But, like, you can't even say this is Super's fault. Like, look at what happens here. He's playing his thing. He's been in the front line. He gets pulled. He gets through. He starts getting through. Maybe he could have like had his shield up a little bit more, but he dies before his team even gets close to helping him. Like, I feel like that was way too easy for the Outlaws to catch up. Like, I told you how their ults were really bad and they needed something to work. Like, that was kind of the shock kind of dropping their spaghetti. And that's something that... Those are the different plays that this is not the shock that we saw. That's not the two-time championship San Francisco shock that we know and love. They didn't make those kind of mistakes where they did. That was essentially a free team fight that they gave to the Outlaws, and it cost them their coalescence as well. So Super doesn't shatter for like 5 fights. Yeah, that's because it's impossible to shatter as a Reinhardt. So once again, great wall by Danteh. Isolate Super. Where the fuck did Nero come from? What? What? It's quite lucky that no one noticed him, but I guess it's a really good play. This is actually a great play. Fuck it. He's like, my plan has been foiled. Throw the blizzard. That's a great mail, because look at how badly that splits everyone up. Isolates Piggy, gives them a great advantage. That was a really good play by Nero. Officially, Tommy C, thank you for the Prime Gaming sub. I think they struggled with the shock this season. Shows how much Moth was doing for them. I think that their communication structure is something that is it looks like it's breaking down more than everything else. I don't think they lost talent. Like, I think they have a wealth of talent, but I don't know what's going on with Violet Main Sport. I don't know what's going on with their communication, and that could definitely be a hole that Moth has left, right? We know Moth is a great communicator, he dictates a lot of the flow of what the Shock were doing historically. I think that could easily be something like the communication from Moth is definitely something that looks hard lost by them. Ugh. Super just gets isolated, and that's another one, right? Like, I just think the Orisa is better. Super's not getting high value shatters. Super's not getting any opportunity to swing. I think Super needs to switch to the Orisa. Like, it really doesn't make sense why they're trying to force this Reinhardt so much. I feel like the Reinhardt's a bit of a throw. Because he just can't stay alive right now. He just needs to live that little bit longer, because it feels like Shock are always at a disadvantage because the two teams clash. Both teams get walled, both teams get frozen, that kind of stuff, but with the Fortify, Jangu just never dies. Good play by the Shock, though, to sort of play slower, spread out around the Outlaws and get the win. He does later, right? I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember exactly. Love the reviews. Thank you very much, officially, Tommy C. Did Sim change much, or did players just figure out the telestrat works were legit good? I think teams worked out that the telestrat can be utilized more often than just on control. I think people are starting to realize that, hey, the ability to just maneuver around the map with a Sim TP is just incredibly strong. My biggest gripe with this Symmetra play is that I'm worried it's going to lose to the Wrecking Ball Zen comps. Like, I think that the Sombra Rhine, like Wrecking Ball comps, might beat the Symmetra Orisa comps, and it's just people in the West aren't playing it. Time will tell, because maybe with Orisa Sigma as your front line in the Sim TP comps, it'll work better against the Wrecking Ball. So we don't really know where it stands, because we actually haven't seen these two styles clash yet. But we'll see. If not, they can also mirror. I fucking dare a West team to try and mirror Wrecking Ball Sombra against them. I don't think there's a single Western region team that could play Wrecking Ball Sombra even close to the Shanghai Dragons. Dallas could maybe. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Like, I don't think Fearless's Wrecking Ball is anywhere close to Fate's. I think Lips Sombra is better than Doza's. Not by a lot, but it is better. Like, I think it would be ill-advised to try and run the Orisa, the Wrecking Ball Sombra against Dallas Fuel. Danteh Sombra easy win. I don't think you're playing to your strengths if you're playing those comps though. Like, I don't think you're playing to a win condition, so we'll see. London? What? No, not London. Good maneuver by the Houston Outlaws putting the TP. And I think the Houston Outlaws do this better than any other team right now, is that they're sim TPing, and they put the sim TP up here, but it gives them two angles to attack from, right? They don't have to use this TP to get in. They can use it to get in, but they can also back off to it again, go back if they need to, and that kind of stuff. They're going back and forth. It's not like a linear one-way TP where you're going either in or out. It's sort of like giving them multiple directions to fight from. Piggy just canceled Mayout. All right, let's have a look at this. No, he didn't. Mayout went down. I'd love to see Danteh versus Lip. And my counterpoint to, like, as much as I agree that those head-to-heads in the Sombras would be interesting, first of all, we haven't seen Danteh play Sombra in a long time. But on top of that, it's not as much about the individual mechanics of playing the Wrecking Ball and Sombra. There's a lot of teamwork and coordination that goes around it. And I think that's what the Shanghai Dragons are great at. And I just don't think a single Western team has put anywhere near as much time into Shanghai Dragons. So maybe on an individual level, on individual heroes, a team could match up. I just don't think they're going to play it anywhere near as well as the Dragons. Loons Boy, thank you very much for the Prime Gaming sub.
Hello. Hey.
Washington could. On paper, Washington, yes, can play. Their players are mechanically good enough to match up, right? Potentially. Nothing about Washington has told me that they can play a single composition well. Except for maybe Winston Anna. Everything else has not filled me with any confidence whatsoever. Okay, so we got the Sim TPs mirroring up. Flux is pretty good. The lamp should go down. All Happy dies on the way up. Why is Shanghai that much better than the rest of APAC? Because they've... People seem to forget that they are also the team that has spent the highest amount of money, right? Like, I always tell people this. Like, Shanghai were even good last year. They literally just bought Fleta, right? Like, people seem to forget that Shanghai... They're like, how did Shanghai get so good? Because they had such fuck you money that they just bought Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. They have more resources. Like, you just look at where they're living. You see how many coaches they have. They just bought Develop, one of the best Contenders players from Contenders, and they just did it. And like, I'm not saying, not discrediting everything that they're accomplishing, but that is why they got so good. They literally just bought talent that was good enough to compete with the San Francisco Shock. Unfortunately, last year, they didn't make it. They fell short at the end, but they just have fuck you money that they just can just utilize, and they're using it well. And I think like there are other teams that do that and don't do it as well, right? Like I think Dallas, another fuck you money. They bought Element Mystic. They put the team together. That is why Dallas also got really good. They put together a great team. They paid for a great team. That's why they rose up the ranks. Philadelphia Fusion has been doing it for years.
The experiment produces consistent results.
So wait, did Fleta and Prophet play together? No. Prophet was after Fleta. So when Soul used their Fleta money and bought Prophet. Can you imagine if Fleta and Prophet played together? That'd be nasty. That's how the league works, I guess. And that is, like, legitimately, the best teams are generally the teams that spent the most money. I think the only team, like, it's just the reality of it. The teams that spend the most money are generally the most successful, right? Like, that is just straight up the way the Overwatch League works. And you need to, like, recognize that. That's how sports works. That's how life works. Generally, the most successful people are the people that spend the most money. Paris, well, like, I'm not saying there are exceptions to the rule. Like, Paris didn't spend a lot of money and they are doing quite well, but they're also not one of the best teams, right? Like, so yeah. What about Houston? Yeah, Houston, like, I think Houston has done well. They probably haven't spent as much money, but you need to remember, they have a really deep roster. I'm sure Happy's expensive. I'm sure Dante's expensive. Django and Piggy are rookies, so they probably didn't have crazy things. Same with Crimso and Juby. But they also have Jake sitting on the bench. They had Hydration and KSF just sitting on the bench. Like, I don't think Outlaws are spending as much money on compared to our one. I think they're spending more time on scouting and developing talent as compared to some of these other teams. They have Junkbuck, they have Harsha, they have two head coaches. Like, they definitely are spending more money than... they are spending over the mean, I would say, of the league. C9? Oh, that was kind of bad by the Outlaws. But those players went with lower offers to join better teams. Houston offered Shu, Nero, Super, if I remember correctly, a few others. But those players went with lower offers to join better teams, and that's it. Like, when you're the Outlaws and you don't have, like, I wouldn't have wanted to join the Houston Outlaws at the end of this season, right? Obviously, they did a good job, but, like, if I'm Nero and I get offered to play for the San Francisco Shock or the Houston Outlaws, I go for the San Francisco Shock. It's actually funny because I'm sorry, I'm getting on massive tangents right now, but this happened to me in season 1 when the Dallas Fuel offered me a contract. So did the Los Angeles Valiant. I was like, Los Angeles Valiant, they didn't even give me a number. They said, what would be your number for you to choose us over the Dallas Fuel? And I literally said to them, like, there isn't a number. I'm going to the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel is going to be the best team in the league. That is where my most growth is. And that's where we're going to own at Dallas Fuel. In hindsight, should have gone to the Valiant. But, hey, you live, you learn. We ended up on Valiant eventually. And, like, I'm sure if you're Nero right at this point, like, maybe going to the Outlaws for more money would have been the play. Who knows? Who knows? So, there's always a lot of options. There's always a lot of back and forth going on and those kind of things, so. You didn't take that blank check? I'm sure. It wasn't really a blank check. It's like Valiant weren't going to spend, like, a ton of money, but they were more... Like, they knew that I wanted to go to Dallas. They were like, how much is it going to cost us? Like, let's see if this is in our realm of possibility of what we're willing to offer you. This kind of feels like a failed Houston Outlaws engage, by the way. Like, this is the bongo. They get him behind, but they just didn't get it. They didn't catch the shock off guard. With the Lucio and the Moira, they actually managed to flip on them, get the point. And they're at a massive disadvantage from there. Would Nero start up a Danteh? No. As I said, like, I don't know. I don't think Nero would, like, I would say if they got Nero, they wouldn't have signed KSF or Hydration, right? Like, they wouldn't. Those players wouldn't think, and he'd be the backup player and stuff like that. I'm sure there are ways it can work. Sully LJ, thank you for the 2 months. How could you not have been hyped for Dallas when you had some crazy pieces at that time? In the first season, here's where Dallas went wrong, okay? They really were like, we have Envious. We have the best team in the world, theoretically. We don't need to sign any other good players, so they just signed me, Seagull, and XQC, who are all good players in our own rights, but we weren't standout players in any of our roles, right? We were all just okay. And when all of us signed those contracts, almost all of us signed up to be a bench player, right? And that was the thing, is like they didn't really sign the best players, right? They signed marketable players.
Ready for battle.
You guys weren't prophets, yeah. Like neither me, Seagull, or XQC came into the when we were signed. None of us were expected to just like revolutionize the Dallas Fuel.
Attackers incoming in 30
Seagull was nuts at the end of the season. Seagull had a pretty good, final season, like end of his career on Diva. If I was more good looking as Custa, I could have been signed. What? Are you saying I just got signed for my looks, Johnny? How dare you? It was for my immaculate Zen and Anna play that I got signed for. And not my good looks.
Hello. 5.
XQC was able to compete with some of the benefits. Yeah, XQC was a good player, like main tank. Like myself, XQC, and Seagull were all good players. We could all compete in the league. We weren't the best though. Right? Like none of us were the best in our role. And like XQC, if he hadn't just fallen off the deep end, done XQC shit, he probably could have competed in the league and probably would have done solidly. I don't think he would have been the best main tank in the league. He wasn't going to win MVP, but you know, he would have been fine. I'm saying you're handsome. Well, also it was like a backhanded compliment, Johnny. You're saying I'm handsome, but you're also saying that my play didn't stand for myself. You can see it sort of goes both ways. Nano, thank you for the Prime Gaming sub. Custa, I saw someone on eBay selling your autographed jerseys for $65. Yo! Did anyone buy it?
30 seconds remaining.
Yo, someone go buy my jersey for 65 bucks. No? Fuck. Trying to convince my hubby to get it for me? Hey. 65 is like 64 too many.
10 seconds remaining.
65 cents you'll consider? Oh yeah, okay. Well, they might need to drop the price to sub $1. That's starting to. I'm starting to see where the market value. It'll trend towards market value soon. So great wall, but great TP by the San Francisco Shock. They kind of clumped themselves up. Piggy is going to orbit. You stay. I go. Oh. No, I enjoy it. That kind of felt like a little too forced for the Shock. For Twilight not having the coalescence as well. Kind of at that point, just sort of, they didn't really have much to stand on. Outlaws just won that first fight too quickly. So now the Outlaws are rolling. This little piggy went to orbit. That he gets high drugs. Oh my god. Is this the legendary throw map? This is one where, yeah, there might have been a soft throw. And by soft throw, I mean a hard throw by Twilight. And like, here's the thing. Like, look at what Twilight does here, right? This is theoretically what Twilight was trying to do, right? When he goes through the TP. So he goes through. He loves doing this off-angling stuff with his Cole. Flop. I don't know why he loves doing this so much, but I guess it kind of makes sense. But that's the theory behind what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to get into this angle. Is Twilight even healing anyone? So that's the value of the rally right there. So that was the idea, right? Let's see how it works the second time. Mono, thank you very much for the fresh sub. Welcome to the fan. Moira can heal? Yeah. So from time to time. Doesn't do that much. I wouldn't worry about it.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
I don't know how the Outlaws won that. They had rally. is the true reality of it. They used coalescence and they got the flux out, but Outlaws just had rally. They just like sustained through the flux coalescence, and then they just had rally. They hit the floor, and then that is the problem with Shock's composition, right? Is they don't have a ton of damage. So I don't think they actually have the damage to get through the rally. So they need to kind of ambitious by Super. I kind of like it. Nero drops the mail. Super gets happy. That was a pretty good flank by Super. But Shock just have so many ultimates that the Outlaws don't really have much to stand on. It's not ambitious. It's creative. Ah, very different, very different.
Initiating map.
Alright, so Houston Outlaws get it very, very far. I think Junkertown might be one of the biggest snowball maps in the game, right? Of like, once you start rolling, it gets very hard to re-engage. Especially that second point. It's so easy to lose that second point for one fight with overtime spawns. Why I switched to Anna at the end there? I think he realizes that the Outlaws aren't going to be able to get on him in the backline by playing for a Bionade, which he actually hit. He slept someone and hit a Bionade, so if it works, right? That you can see the understanding. He can stand far away. You can probably get more healing out playing from far away. The reason you generally don't play Anna in this composition is it's too easy to get isolated. Violent and Glister get a little bit ambitious there. Like, I don't know what both of them attempted there. Sleep well, my prince. S, I guess. To the moon! Nero joins Biggie in the stratosphere. Too real. Alright, so we got the TP from the San Francisco Shock trying to get in the face. They've done a good job of splitting up the Houston Outlaws. Crimzo just needs to get back to his team. Yeah, Outlaws are doing a great job. They split up the Outlaws, but they just couldn't get any kills. That's a big kill on a Crimzo, though. That is such a big play by Nero. By killing the Baptiste, they're going to be able to stabilize. Like, they're going to be able to win this fight eventually. Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier, Cloudy Boy. I do think the Dragons are going to be the best team in the Summer Showdown. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat the Dragons right now with how dominant they look. Alright, so they got mailed. I don't know if I agree with this Lucio Moira as well from the San Francisco Shock. Like, I don't really know what their win condition is, right? Like, why is the Lucio Moira better, Reinhardt better than what the Outlaws are playing? Like, I think I prefer the Baptiste. Just for the cleave healing, like, and the AoE healing and the lamp and the window. Comfort picks? I don't know. Like, how does that happen? Like, how does that happen? Like, how do they just allowed to walk up, drop a window, and Super dies? Oh, Super threw a fire strike. That was kind of on Super. He should not have thrown that fire strike. Then the idea is to go faster, but they can't, like, the thing is they're trying to go faster, but they just can't kill the Outlaws. Outlaws just have too much healing and sustainability. Houston best in 18 this tournament? Maybe. I think they look like they have a good idea of what the meta and what they want to play in the meta. So we got double Mayo, we got Flux. Happy's dead. Shadow onto Danteh. That was a great shadow by Super. If that didn't catch Danteh, I think they probably are in a good spot. Fortunately, they're going to die on the cart. The Outlaws should get a second fight here. Yeah, this meta is in the West is definitely not a good meta for. This is definitely not a good meta for the Dallas Fuel. I don't think it plays to their strengths at all. Obviously, they looked pretty good with the like Ryan Diva, May Symmetra stuff when they were playing that. But if Outlaws comp is better than that, then I don't know if this is playing to their win conditions. How do you think the Battle for Texas? We'll find out at the Battle for Texas. I honestly don't really know. Thank you very much, Wopium. Alright, Bongo goes down, GB goes down. I guess that's the value of playing the Moira. I think the Coalescence is just such a good ultimate. I don't know if Outlaws should have gone for that fight. I think they're only going to get one fight on the second point anyway. I think they would have been better off staying on this high ground. I don't know. I think that might have been ill-advised to try and drop down from the high ground, drop the Bongo, all of that kind of stuff. They're always just going to fall into a Coalescence and just die. Why is it meta all of a sudden? It's just the brawl. I think a lot of people from the... a lot of people were playing these like brawl Symmetra styles on King of the Hill, and I think some teams realize that you can just play it everywhere. There's always a lot of experimenting going on. Oh, Danteh gets rocked. How does he get rocked? Damn, good pull rock. Alright, Flux goes up. Juby goes down. Juby needs to get some Inspire uptime right now. Alright. Oh, Juby goes down. Flux is good by Piggy, but they're losing people too fast. Oh my god, that Mayo was so clutch. Just a couple of things going not in the favor of the Outlaws. If Juby doesn't get popped there, I think they're probably good. Dallas is hiding their payload map. Hey, you can't ever count the Dallas Fuel out. If we learned anything from this year so far, is that you can never count them out. So Danteh touching. I think Danteh goes a little too early for my liking. I guess he doesn't want to get warded by Nero, so he wants to go early. But yeah, I think you give up this point. I agree with this. This is a smart call by the Houston Outlaws, recognizing that they didn't need to win the fight there and then. They gave themselves some more time. Super goes to the Orisa, puts down the Bongo. Does Glister break his TP as well as soon as he goes through? Sets up the TP. Twilight Coalescence goes through. And then he breaks it manually. Like, Glister legitimately just breaks it. Because if it had been broken by the Outlaws, it would have shown it was broken. So he literally... That is the biggest bait by Glister ever. He literally puts down a TP, Twilight goes through it, and then he just breaks it himself. So he's like, later, bitch. Teleports Twilight into the back line. Twilight gets murdered, can't go back through because the TP no longer exists. No refunds. And Twilight goes down, and that is as we should, because this is a Bongo Coalescence as well. Like, it would do so much damage. Twilight would have done so much damage to deal with that. That's actually just a throw. Like, I think the Shock were in a pretty good spot in that fight. So it was Glister who hard through. I think it's 50-50. I think that's 50% on Glister, 50% on Twilight. Shock was so boomed after this. Yeah, it didn't get better from there. Why not use it straight in front? As I said before, we highlighted it earlier in the review. Twilight likes to go on these off angles. By going on the off angle with the Coalescence, it provides multiple threats. It allows you to see the fight differently. You can't get walled. You can't get hit by as many shields and stuff like that. It just gives you that extra freedom. So it is makes sense to do the off angling, but
Incoming in 30 seconds.
not like that.
Ready.
No one person targeting. Not blaming one individual person. Weird champ. 1 second. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go on. Let's put it on Danteh for 1 second. I need to be right back.
2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A. Boosting up.
Alright, what do we got? Alright, so the San Francisco Shock are gonna play the Winston Anna dive with Twilight Smurf. Arns comes in, Smurf comes in. Violet is still playing Lucy. Sure. And then the Houston Outlaws playing the Bat Mercy with the McCree. Danteh, pretty good at Echo. Who would have thought? Especially with the damage boost from Juby. Just absolutely murders the Shock. I think I would much prefer to see Arns on like a McCree or an Ashe and Violet on Mercy. Like, I don't really understand the Lucio Hanzo here. Once again, it feels like the composition is counterintuitive to itself. They're not, instead of, like, they want to brawl and they want to rush, but they want to play a Hanzo who's playing in the back. Like, I feel like, especially with Arns in his current spot, he's going to do nothing because he's afraid of walking it because of Danteh. And then as soon as he comes in, Dante's just going to murder him. Plus, he's playing against double shield Arns, so they're really just hoping he picks Danteh out of the sky. So it doesn't really make sense why they're playing the Hanzo, in my opinion. Like, let's watch it from his perspective, right? See what he can do. Like, Hanzo can work in these situations, right? But I think it's kind of like a gamble, right? You're just hoping that the Hanzo hits something eventually.
Better.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Winston.
So now it's Smurf up. But Bat Mercy is just very hard to punish. Happy kills Arns. Danteh copied into Winston. Smurf primals and just gets evaporated. I think they keep violating to go break for the Outlaws. They play dive. And that raises the question, right? And I'm going to keep bringing it up every single San Francisco Shock review. Is it really worth keeping Violet in to play the main support if really theoretically we're guessing that the only reason he's in is to play the Brig, right? It's the only thing I think he plays better than an FD God. But he hasn't played Brig yet today. So there has to be a different reason. Is it his calling? Is Violet's crucial to the calling structure of the Shock? Maybe. Maybe that's the reason that they don't want to think. But they would be getting so much more value out of FD God Lucio than they are Violet Lucio. Violet's Lucio is serviceable. FD God's Lucio is PogChamp, right? That is the difference. So it doesn't seem like it is making sense to not play FD God. The only thing that, in my opinion, that makes sense is synergy and, like, communication. Anything else than that doesn't really make sense to me. But didn't they have him on Moira last game? No, Twilight was playing Moira. Violet was playing Lucio. Violet, Krusty said Violet is the main caller. Yeah, there has been things being said of like, Violet is the main caller and that's why he's playing the Lucio. So, I guess it makes sense. But isn't Violet better than Twilight? Listen to the fuckery of this. Violet is better than Twilight. Except at Ana. Violet has this weird stigma where he just refuses to play Ana or refuses to practice Ana or just hates Ana. So it has been said. So Violet just isn't good at Ana and doesn't play Ana. So Violet is a flex support who can't play Ana. Twilight has a really good Ana, probably a comparable Baptiste, but a worse Zen. So you can understand where all the issues are coming from, right? And now you have Glister being forced onto Tracer because a role that he is primarily a hit scan, but now they've signed Arns, so he's not really the hit scan player. He's now playing the Tracer, but he hasn't played a lot or practiced a lot of Tracer because they used to have Striker. And now Smurf and Super are still flipping in their main tanks. So as you explain what's happening with the roster and like how like they have to manipulate it, you can understand why they're struggling, right? There's so much variance with a lot of the shit that they do, and that has happened throughout the season. I think the Shock have gotten worse just because of all these things that have happened. They're still a good team, but they've definitely gotten worse. And I think a lot of the issues were covered up, at least last year, with all of their moving and slipping and that kind of stuff, just because they were better than every other team. But I don't think they're better than every other team anymore. So now they need to start working it out. This is my problem with the Shocker bad conversation. Not about being bad, it's their potential for more. Exactly, right? Like, they are still a great team. They still have, on paper, a very, very good team. They just aren't really utilizing it right now. And there's definitely some weaknesses, things that we probably don't understand that exist within the team that are causing these struggles. It's not this player is bad. I don't think there's a single mechanically flawed player on this team. I think they are all very good within their roles. Like, some of the best in their roles. Like, that is not a question. The question is they haven't been able to string it together. Tayo is inconsistent. I'm gonna shut you down here. I'm sorry, Smurfette, but I'm gonna. I feel like way too many people either give Tayo shit because he's bad, or say, oh, he's been quite good, or he's inconsistent. We don't know. Like, we literally don't have an answer to that question because he has not... How many maps has Tayo played in his career on the San Francisco Shock, which has almost been a year and a bit now? Like, 2 maps? 3 maps, maybe? Like, we don't know. Like, that is not enough of a sample size to know. And every time, the maps that he has played is generally been suboptimal. Like, the only reason he is playing is because something is going wrong, right? So... That is my judgment on Tayo. It's like, people ask me, it's like, what do you think of Tayo? I don't fucking know. Haven't seen the dude play. And I feel like that is the thing. The fact that he doesn't play, I think, speaks more volumes to anything else than we have seen historically, right? So, we'll see. We'll see. As we talked about earlier in this view, it'd be interesting to see Tayo play on another team and get given an opportunity to be a mainstay player. Okay, so let's get back into the review. Twilight hits enormous Bionade into the Grav. They have beat, they have Grav, they're chilling. Happy gets Smurf. Oh, great pulse bomb. They needed that. Glitz to come in clutch on that Tracer. Danteh and Django. Oh my god, are they seriously gonna win against the Grav? Where was the dragon? Was the dragon late? He didn't have it yet. So they grab without the dragon. Smurf gets got. Glister tries to redeem it. The dragon comes late. Just sort of thrown in for the hope of it. So that came off harsh? No, it's Smurf. As I said, I wasn't using it to get upset at you or anything like that. I think I just want to clarify it because you're not the only one. And there's a ton of people that talk like either good or bad or inconsistent about Tayo, and it's just like, I don't really know where everyone's getting these storylines for. This is just the Houston Outlaws here getting a little bit too aggressive. Like, they won that fight, they're great job, but then they try and punish Arns and that costs them. Like, they could have easily just tried to consolidate on the point, but a little greedy by the Outlaws is going to cost them the point.
30 seconds remaining.
How much is Shotgun miss a Striker? Yeah, I think Gliss is, I think Gliss, at least so far this map, he's done pretty good on the Tracer. I think Gliss is solid on the Tracer. Only time will really tell. Happy gets Glister, Juby gets Smurf. Excuse me? Oh, Custa just gets got. Oh, that was a brutal dive by the Shock. Danteh just being the GOAT. Nano Choi is just not what you want in this situation. It's keeping him alive. Yo, Violet Brig though. Oh god. Woo! And the Shock just don't look good. They just don't look... And you can understand why. Like, the Shock's biggest weakness, I think, with the Smurf and Super Switches is it's very obvious to know what they're going to play when they make this switch. If you're the Outlaws, you know they're going to come out, especially with Arns as well, you know they're going to play Winston hit scan. They were just like, we'll just play our double shield shit. We're just going to play double shield and it's going to be really hard for them to dive them. And we've seen that. Who else had the same issue? Dallas Fuel had the same issue against the Florida Mayhem, where it's like they were trying to dive against these Arista styles and it just doesn't work. Like, you just get blown up and you can't get space. So kind of ill-advised for the Shock to try and go for that play.
4, 3.
Why would they play double bubble with Lucio? That is a great question as well. Why is Violet playing Lucio? Why doesn't he play the Brig? Like, but Brig doesn't really get a ton of value against what the Outlaws are playing because they were playing like double shield Echo. But then you're like, well, why doesn't Violet just play Mercy, right? Like, the Lucio doesn't really speed anyone up to help you close that distance. So, kind of, there's been a lot of weird decisions by the San Francisco Shock in this series. Why didn't double shield work in the June Joust then? I don't know. Why didn't the double shield work in the June Joust? Don't make us think. I think a lot of people... It's very hard to work out what the meta is with such a short amount of time. With hero pools existing, people are just trying to latch onto anything that they think will work in each tournament. Historically, what used to happen is there was a meta, and that meta would last for like 4 months, right? 6 months, because before any major balance changes happened. So what happened is that gave a lot of time for things to start coming out in the wash. Everyone got to explore different opportunities. Everyone's trying different things, all that kind of stuff. And then everyone standardizes towards one thing. Teams right now are just playing whatever they think will win them games. And there's not enough time to really test things that if like something doesn't feel like it's working, you're just going to throw it out. So people probably didn't extensively practice the double shield against the Winston compositions. And we don't even know if the double shields is going to be better than the Winston comps. Maybe in the long run, the Winston comps will actually be better. The dive comps will be better. Why isn't anyone playing Sombra? You know what the biggest break to this is? Sombra. If you can break this, if you can get a big EMP, you can force them a thing. EMP is really good. Why is no one trying Sombra in the West? You can't try everything. Everyone's just trying to win as many games as they can and work with what works for them. So I would say not enough teams fully committed to it. But yeah. There's also been like, remember, like there's also been a lot of buffs and changes going on as things happen throughout this season that like little things that drastically change the way it's played. Yeah, I think Dallas played a little bit of Sombra. Dallas played some Sombra against, but I think the biggest issue is the Sombra can be hard against this double shield if you can't make it work, right? So there's a lot of questions, right? And it's impossible to really know what is going and isn't going to work. And that's just like, this is why the Winston is a problem, right? You're playing Winston against Torb McCree. At some point you need to go, and then the Winston jumps and just gets absolutely bopped. Can we play Sombra? Yeah. As I said, I'm not saying nobody played Sombra, but if you compare how much Sombra is being played in the West compared to the East, it's a drastic difference. You guys want to see the Juby whip shot? It's a pretty easy whip shot. because they will leave for the bubble, but hey, you gotta hit him. Pop. He was actually in the bubble. That's actually interesting. That's how he got through it. He was actually under him and in the bubble. Popped him into the air. Bonk. And that's the map. That was a quick map for the Houston Outlaws. Now we go over to Kings Row. Big Wonder Stick 469. Thank you very much for the Prime sub.
Ready for battle.
APAC never bought the Rush DLC.
Ready for battle.
You also need to remember and think of which teams are good in which metas. The East has always been better at the Sombra, the Dive, the Wrecking Ball. They've leaned into that way more, while in the West, play a lot more Bunker, play a lot more Reinhardt. That's just how it's always been. There's always that like divide of like regions of they will lean more heavily into one style than the other.
Attackers incoming. Defend.
Alright, so Super comes back in. They're going to play the Zen Baptiste. They're going to play the double shield, and they're just going to mirror it against the Outlaws. They're still leaning heavily onto the Zen instead of the Brig. I love this recognition by the Outlaws, understanding that their composition brawls better than the Shocks, right? The Shock wants to play it slow. With the Zenyatta, the Zenyatta wins in a long form, right? If they can get the Discord, if they can get the damage, if Violet is allowed to shoot, they're in a good spot. But if they just go in with the Brig and they just get Inspire uptime and they get in their face, they're in a much bigger advantage. So good recognition. Shock just sort of really walking into that trap. Why isn't Shock playing Rush? I don't think they believe in the Reinhardt Diva Mei Sim. I think they don't think that they can win against the Outlaws comp. And they did try and play it a little bit at the start of the series. Like, they did try and play the Reinhardt. They even tried to play Reinhardt Sigma a lot in Junkertown. I just don't think they... I don't think they know how to beat the Outlaw style of playing it. And that's why I think they've ended up going to, like, a mirror of sorts. Like, even Glissa, like, he's just like, oh, you're not going to play Sim? Okay, well, I'll play Hanzo too. Like, they're just mirroring. Like, Shock at this point are just scrambling to find something that'll work. This probably isn't practice. This probably isn't planned. This is just them being like, what? How do we win this? Oh, Danteh gets isolated and caught by Glissa. That was kind of bad by Danteh. Did they know where he was through the wall? Because it seems like Super knew that was going to be there. Danteh doesn't drop his... that was pretty greedy by Danteh to not use his block, but gets caught. Blop. Now we get the double headshot with wallhack arrows. Johnny, if you're still here. That was cool. Double wallhack headshot arrows. That's kind of neat. But that is going to be it for the Houston Outlaws. Very cool. Alright, so they get through there.
Objective lost. Stop the pain.
Uno momento. Yo, Sap landed. Nice. First reveal of the day, yes. Alright, so now they're holding the door. This is going to be hard for the Houston. Ah, love the play. Love that play. They wait for them to walk in, they pull, they wall, and they drop the dragon down the throat of the choke. Force out the Transcendence, then they get the Flux. That's a nice Flux. That was a very nice Flux by Piggy. Dude, you know... I think they should play Jiggy the whole time. I think they should get Jiggy with it all the time. Because I understand why they brought in Dreamer to play that like Winston Wrecking Ball, but I just like Jangu. I feel like when Houston Outlaws plays Jangu, they succeed. When they don't play Jangu, they don't succeed as much. No Jiggy, no win.
Cease your resistance.
Doing new WoW raid? Yes, I'll be doing the new WoW raid tomorrow night. I'm playing with the All Stars tomorrow night. We'll be doing that then. I don't know how I feel about this dragon. if you're in this spot in particular, you're fucked. Everywhere else, you're fine. Got the mail. Did Danteh lose his mail? He did. Let's see this. Danteh, what did you do? Oh, that was kind of fortunate more than anything, but good play by Choi. Gets it. And that should just be it. I think if Danteh gets that mail down, they're in a really good spot, but for the most part, they're just unlucky. Yeah, I don't think Choi realized he was there. I think Choi was just walking forward with his hands up. Danteh just threw it at him. So good play by the San Francisco Shock, breaking that choke. Danteh on Tracer. Danteh going to Tracer here is interesting, but I kind of like it. You know why? Because I think this is going to be hard for Violet. I want to see how he plays this. I want to look at the position because I think Shock don't have a lot of great counters to Danteh. And Dante's going to force them to keep an eye out on Violet. Is Danteh Tracer even that good? Is Danteh Tracer even that good? If you're new here to the Overwatch League, welcome. Danteh fucks at everything. Except for hit scan. We don't let him play hit scan. But everything else, Tracer, Flex DPS, Sombra, May, Danteh fucks. Just broad blanket statement. Doesn't need to be anything else. Danteh Tracer. I'll put it this way. Let me give you a more serious answer. Danteh Tracer is what he became famous for. Danteh's Tracer was his best hero and probably is his best hero that he's ever played. I would say he is probably the best Western Tracer. Am I insulting anyone that I probably shouldn't? Shax is pretty good. Yaki's not Western. It's not Aspire, it's not Hydron. Till they do it in the league consistently. Oh, Kevster. Kevster and Shax are good shouts, but yeah, Danteh's in that. He's in that same pedigree. Danteh Tracer fucks. Alright, let's go do it. Let's watch it. Not many Western players even play Tracer. Not true. I think there's a lot of Western players. They just know they're historically not as good thing. So this is done.
For the count.
Shouldn't have even said anything. Should have just shown you that. Yeah, and that's the value that the Danteh Tracer, and I love this recognition for Danteh, is if they're gonna play greedy, if the Shock are gonna play greedy and play a Zen, Dante's just gonna go Tracer. And now, how do they, like, they don't have anyone really to deal with him, right? They have to hope that either Glister or Nero hits a great shot, but even then, Danteh knows all he has to do is be a distraction. If he's just annoying and forces them to look at him, like, look at how much this whole team has to turn as his team is walking forward. Danteh just needs to live. They're losing so much positioning. They're losing so much. Oh, God, Danteh. Okay. And he's just going to keep doing that consistently, time after time. Oh, he didn't have enough blinks. Woo! Yo, Crimzo! Heal me! Crimzo! I'll do it. I'll get a Mega then. Oh! So Dante's Tracer is pretty good. I'm really surprised that Violet didn't switch off. So Nero switches to Torb to deal with the Tracer, right? They know he's here. So they don't even have a Mei anymore, right? They gave up their Mei for it as well. Oh! I didn't remember Danteh fucking this much on Tracer. I'm glad we started watching Danteh. His reaction time is amazing. The thing that if you ever want to see Danteh play the game, I 100% recommend his stream. His stream is super chill, and he doesn't rage. He's just a cool guy to watch. Danteh somehow has the ability to track while blinking. Like, he just, like, his brain has been hardwired to when he blinks, he is still aimbotting. It's crazy how impressive it is watching him play. You'll get a great idea for, like, how good he is, like, watching his stream. He moans about Kree? Yeah, well, Kree is stupid. And, like, just... Wait, excuse me? Wait. Why is Twilight playing Brig and Violet playing Bap?
60 seconds remaining.
That doesn't make any sense. They're literally hard switching their comp just to deal with Danteh. Here's what's gonna happen as well, right? Shock are gonna make all these switches. They're gonna do all this stuff. And then Dante's just gonna switch back to Mei. And then, like, even if they lose the second point, Dante's just gonna switch back to Mei and they're gonna outcomp them. Because this is their comp. They've forced Shock to play their comp. Didn't you say Brig isn't the best counter, Tracer counter? Did that change? Well, Brig is better than Zenyatta. Right? Like, Brig's not, like, a lot of people have it in their mind that, like, they play Tracer, I can play Brig, and I will just win. It's like, that's not always how it works. Like, Tracer can fuck Brig pretty hard if given the space. But Brig's pretty good at shutting down Tracer if you're just, like, you can see, like, against the Torp turret, against the Brig stuns, Danteh just has to play so safe. Like, just look how annoying this is to deal with.
10 seconds remaining.
Dude, this Tracer swap was Giga Brain. This Tracer swap was actually 9-head by Danteh. He actually just, like, he literally just absolutely destroyed Shock. Just dismantled that team. Danteh for MVP. Dude, my Danteh MVP is looking good if he keeps playing like this. No riding bikes though, Danteh. If you're watching this, if you ride a bike again, I swear to fucking God. No more torsion problems. I'd give it to Crimzo before Danteh. Nah. No, I disagree with that. Danteh doesn't even want to take the shot. That's... Alright, now we get the Danteh. I just want to watch Danteh now, if I'm being honest. I kind of feel like watching Danteh. Keep your nuts in a line, Danteh. Oh, I feel like Gliss is kind of gotta be careful. He was this close to getting dove by Danteh. I think Danteh was looking for it. Another one. Give me another one, Danteh. Give me another one. Another one. I want another one. Come on, give me 4. There it is. Happy. Stop taking Dante's kills. There we go. Built different. Shouldn't it? Yes. Violet should 100%. And here's the biggest storyline for why the San Francisco Shocker boomed. Why is Violet playing Baptiste? It makes no sense why Violet is playing Baptiste right now. Violet is supposed to be the main support. He's supposed to be the person playing the Brig. Twilight is the BAP. As much as Violet's, you want to say Violet's BAP should be better, there is no reason they should switch this in the middle of a map. His comfort zone? You think Twilight is comfortable on Brig? No. Twilight's played less Brig than Violet. Violet's job right now is to play the Brig.
I'm taking care.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Something's up with the San Francisco Shock. This is just boomage at this point. Why is Violet playing main support? Apparently his calling is the rumors that we've heard. That his calling is the reason. I think Krusty said it. It's the primary reason that he's playing. They need him in for the communication, but... This is just boom. Oh, that was close. Yeah, they have to use the window to stem the bleeding. I actually think that's the right call by Violet right there.
You should be at peak performance level.
The payload in motion stays in motion. Except the number of
Heroes never die.
Woo! Woo!
Victory.
Not bad. Let's talk about the storyline so far. Lesser talked about storyline so far in the tourney. Juby on his non-Lucio heroes looks massively improved. I think Juby's been sick for the Outlaws. I really do. I think people were hard on him early on when the Houston Outlaws struggled at the very beginning, but I think Juby's been sick. Like, I don't think any of the issues that the Houston Outlaws have had has been because of Juby. And I'm actually really glad that they've committed more towards Juby playing that Brig. Like, I would much prefer to have one player, like, invest, instead of just, like, subbing them up for this one hero and that kind of stuff, invest resources into making Juby a better player. Make him a better player, make him a mainstay, main support that you will want always in your team, and you will get so much more from that. Just because another player can play that role, that hero, better for this one situation, it creates such a big rift within the team. And just look at the San Francisco Shock right now of what, like, where they're struggling. So just keep Juby in. He's fucking, and he's been impressing me so far. So keep it up. So that's it for the review. I hope you guys found that one interesting. I think there's a lot to take away from that. The Houston Outlaws playing a lot of Orisa. I didn't even realize they didn't play a single lick of Reinhardt in that match. So they're heavily leaning towards the bunker slow style of playing the game with Juby on that Brig. It's interesting. I kind of like it. Will it keep working? We don't know. San Francisco Shock, though, definitely. As I said, they have a ton of talent. They have an absurd amount of talent on the San Francisco Shock, and to the point that they will always be good. The way they're playing right now, the way that they're doing hero swaps, player swaps, compositions, all those kind of things, not a fan. Not a fan of what they're doing, and I don't think they're going to win a tournament or make it to Hawaii if they keep doing it and they don't get it together. So let's get jiggy with it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. There'll be more videos coming up from the time. We're going to try and pump a bunch of these out. So much love. I'll see you guys next time.